And we are live. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. It is Springbok announcement day. We do have a Springbok side that has been announced by Rassie Erasmus. Also busy watching him give his press conference over here. So we will have that up very, very shortly as well. Exciting times. And I tell you what a team we have picked for this weekend. That pack would not look out of place in the World Cup final. I think that's probably the best way of putting it. And there is a test debut this weekend, which is very, very exciting. And, I'm going to start actually there as soon as we can sort of get going with how big this is for Vincent Tuka, because this is a player who, has had to wait his turn, not even from like being good enough, but simply because we don't have a home affairs good enough to be able to give him papers, So we've got a player who's been on the radar for a long, long time that we just haven't been able to use. And now we can use him. And now we can unleash him onto the world and onto the Springbok world. And I think that what we saw over the weekend was a player who's more than good enough to be playing for the Boks. And he does get his chance this weekend. And I really, really hope he takes it, because he's a great player. He's a great human. And also think that he's potentially the answer to Peter Pretoria when he does move on. I do think he's got all the attributes. So I think that we've got a player who is going to push people. And this is what you want to see. So people, I want to get your comments in. And we're going to start going through them, just making sure everything's all working. Get your comments in. I'm going to put a poll in saying, do you like the team that Rassie has picked? Simple yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. And if you don't like the team, why don't you like the team? What is it about the team that you don't like? That's it's a very simple question. If you don't like the team, and let me know what about it you change as well. Because it's all very well saying I don't think this guy should be playing. Well, then who do you think should play ahead of him? So we've got some big news as well, by the way. So it looks like Peter Pretoria will be back next week at this stage. So Vincent Tuka's got one game to really show what he's all about, and then he's going to have to really genuinely compete with Peter Pretoria. So you probably find that Peter Pretoria will come back next week. Very likely we could potentially see Vincent again against Georgia. Siya Kolisi set to be back next week as well. Frans Malherbe is out for the entire season, unfortunately. And the news is that Jean Klein is out for 6 weeks, which means we might see him back for the Rugby Championship. That is the injury news coming to you very, very live. It's literally Rassie Erasmus talking about it right now. But there's a lot to sort of dive into, and I'm very interested to sort of see what the reactions are. And so far people are saying it's good. So, but we've never ever had 100% people like it. So there are people that don't like it. I'm seeing one comment about no Mani and no Sasha. So let me know, what is it about? Why don't you like that about it? What is it that you would change as well? Which players would you have instead of them? Because I think that there's is a big sort of chance to potentially rotate against Italy, but at the same time, this is our first test of the season. And whilst the Boks have always talked about wanting to rotate and wanting to give different players a chance, they're also all about winning games. And it's vitally important that we also get an opportunity to play our strongest teams together to be able to gel and to get them playing. So there's lots of different sort of factors you've got to sort of weigh into these different team decisions. So let's go to some of the comments. Iman saying great team. Leslie saying nice. CP Nunes saying great team. Glad Faf is back as well. Also haven't seen you in a while, CP Nunes. So good to see you back in terms of people returning. Nicolo saying I was hoping they picked Ethan Hooker. RP saying strong team. Illicit Phaser reckons it's too strong. Man Africa says great team. King Power says I don't like the team because I like Mani and Sasha. That's the long and short. Fair enough. We all have our favorites. Chris saying why is Willie still in the squad? He's been awful for the Bulls. Ironically, he had the most contrasting performances where I thought he was brilliant in the semi-final against Sharks and he was awful against Leinster. Kind of the Vililu, the conundrum. You almost need to make it like the Vililu paradox. The ability to be so sensational and so bad simultaneously and in short spaces of time. Victor says, it's a nice mix. Tariq says, Grant Williams still injured. From my understanding, there was no mention about Grant. Let me ask, actually. Maybe I can actually even see if I can get that question in, actually, over the press conference. And what else have we got to say here? Luazi says, Ox, Marks, and Volko, that's a demolition crew up front. No one's matching that scrum power. Adrian says, I'd like to see Moody and Hooker. Taco says, I would like them more youngsters in the squad. King Power says, for Villaroo, he was asking for Manny and Sasha. Yeah, I suppose you could have had Sasha in that side ahead of them. Jan says, like the team. RP I can see scrum penalties coming. John Alexander saying, great team, as many of the current scheme should be given a chance. Villiers to go to 99. Yeah, that's a big point. Christian says, love the team. One step closer for Villiers. The only player I would really want to swap out. Cockford and Klabakanye. Maybe a JLDP and Sasha there, but will be more games. 100%. Johan's already saying box by 30 points. And Matthew saying, what a team, close to, if not our strongest team, bar maybe 2-3 players. Well, interesting, very, very interesting, is yesterday I did a team of what our sort of 8-0 split, what were our strongest potential team, our ultimate sort of team. And that was actually basically the template I was using to create the graphic that you see on screen. I didn't have to make a lot of changes. And I think that shows you that this is very close to what our best possible team would be. And to be honest, I think, 3-4 changes probably max with regards to what our best team would be if we're playing in a World Cup final tomorrow. I think that's how close this team genuinely is to being full strength. So let's look at it. Oxenchair, Malcolm Marks, Volker Low. For me, that's our top scrum. I think that's our best front row. Even Yetzebeth, Lutiaga, that's probably close to our strongest tight five we would have starting, because Franco Master, Archis Name, and I've kind of always been part of that bomb squad. So our tight five potentially could be a tight five in a final. Where things would change would probably be 6 and 7, Cecilia and Peter Steff to come in. Jasper Visa probably our number one choice at 8. Morne van den Berg probably not currently our number one choice if we were to play a World Cup final tomorrow. However, they really do rate him, and I think that they're kind of looking to try and get him in to be that number one choice, so he's on that path. Andre Pollard would probably start a World Cup final tomorrow. The rest of it is our strongest backline, so you'd probably change 3 players in that starting lineup, and of that, only 2 of them are actually in because of injuries, so it is more or less the strongest we could put out given the current injury situation, bar maybe Morne van den Berg. So I think that we're looking at potentially one change across the entire team based on availability right now to make it the strongest possible 15 and probably even the strongest possible 23. So we don't get much stronger than this right now in our current state. I mean, maybe, as I said, maybe, a Faf de Klerk could start in the number 9 jersey ahead of Morne van den Berg, or Kobus Rana could start, or Grant Williams could start, but I don't think we're massively far off it. And I think that if there's a World Cup final tomorrow, you'd have Thomas Tatoya ahead of Jan Hendrik Vessels. But right now, our second choice, number 6, is Marco Verstappen. And right now, maybe you'd put a Funky Master at number 7 ahead of Vincent Tuka if there's a World Cup final tomorrow. But I do think Vincent right now is our second choice, number 7. The way he played over the weekend, the way that they reckon he can grow into that role as well. So I think it's a case of being very close to the strongest we could possibly put out, and hopefully we're going to see those sort of players come back to full fitness as the season progresses, and we can then basically have an opportunity to see our full strength side come New Zealand when we go to Eden Park. Because this is the thing. For me, that's when we're going to see our strongest side. That, and when we go to France and play against Ireland. Those sort of 4 tests are when we're going to see our strongest teams out there. And I think this is very close to what we would put out if we were playing against New Zealand, to be honest. And that's a very positive thing. The fact that we've got most of these players back, they're in, and even though we are playing against in Italy, we're not taking things with lightly. And the thing is, go out and beat them, maybe tweak a little bit, because then we're going to have an opportunity to rotate quite a lot against Australia. So there's plenty of opportunities in the rest of the season to still try things, which for me is probably the big sort of takeaway here. So even if you're sitting there going, well, where's this player and where's the other player? Well, we don't have to worry because they're going to get opportunities. Sorry, I'm just actually trying to get this press conference sorted. I'm going to try and multitask here. This is the problem with having only 2 hands here. We've got a press conference coming live here. And we're busy trying to sort that out. But yeah, so I mean, you're going through that side. The people who I think need to have big games this weekend is Vincent Tuka, obviously on debut, huge opportunity for him. David Willemse, given the opportunity ahead of Apelele Fassi, he needs to once again prove that he is number one choice. And that's nothing. It's not like because what he's done, he's just been injured, and then all of a sudden Apelele Fassi decide to arrive, and to arrive with a bit of heat. And he's been cooking as Apelele Fassi. There's no doubt about it. He has been cooking, which is really good to see. Now, Damian Willemse needs to remind people that, listen, guys, if you go back to the World Cup, I was probably one of the top 5 most important players in this team. And I was probably the top 5 most, on-form players in the tournament, even, arguably. And I think he was, to be perfectly honest. But he's now been injured for a year. Apelele Fassi's gone, right, well, you want to be injured, then bang. He is got to sort of show that this weekend, and I think he will, to be honest. I think Damian Willemse will. I predict him having a good game. I think he's absolutely world class, and I think that we're going to see, hopefully, exactly what he's all about on come Saturday. And what he's all about is potentially being, for me, I look at Damian Willemse as a future World Player of the Year candidate. I think that's his threshold. I don't think he has a threshold. And I'm not saying Apelele can't get there, but I just think that we forget just how well Damian Willemse was playing and how well, he's been around the block, and he's had to sort of find his feet a few times. But at the end of the day, when he plays at his best, there are few players out there in the World Rugby at the moment that are better than him. And until he needs to get the opportunity to prove that. But I think the main thing that we need to sort of focus on is how cool is it that we've got those two options, that is currently what we have available to us, that we've got, for me, potential World Player of the Year, and that we've then got an Apelele Fassi who's backing him up. Because not everybody has that. Because I think we've got 2 players that would both walk into most test match teams around the world. And that is an incredibly important and incredibly lucky position to be in. And there's a couple of conversations about having it in there with regards to the Fassi and Willemse chat. So, what have I got to say? A lot of comments coming through here, people. So I'll try and sort of pick out a few. And a lot of people talking about Willie LaRue getting those caps here. So MC says, Willie has been a brilliant servant for the game. Glad he's getting his 100, but I think he should be used more for his knowledge to train up Damien. And Victor says, getting Willie to 100 caps so we can get more younger players. And somebody else said, Marcus says, Willie to 10 when Willie comes on. We could see it, or else we'll probably just see a straight swap over there, or maybe you'll replace Damien Delendi in the centres. But let's go talk about the Damian Willemse and Fassi chat, shall we? Where were they? Got a whole bunch of comments coming through about it. Justin saying, Willemse, Fassi and Horn, what a nice headache to have. And that's a huge point to make. I mean, Quine Horn is a quality player. I think he should be in the squad. I think that as soon as Willie LaRue gets to that 100, I think we'll probably look to maybe rotate there. And I think that he will push these two, to be honest. I don't think that Apelele Fassi is that much ahead of Quine Horn. I genuinely don't. I think that Quine Horn, with a bit of backing and a bit of game time, will also be giving them quite a big headache. Jan says, you'll swallow your words about Morne van den Berg. He is the future of SA, and Yasser recognizes it only needs game time. Well, I assume you're talking about other people, because if you've ever watched this channel, you'll know I am a Morne van den Berg stan. And I've been saying this since last year. When I spoke to John Stick and in the press conferences, and they said Morne van den Berg is the future. Like they've been saying it for a while. They're saying he is going to be our number one choice scrum half. I just don't think he would necessarily start in a World Cup final right now tomorrow. I think you'd probably go with Kubas 5-4 Grant. They're more experienced type of thing. But the fact that they're backing him once again in dry conditions, he is finally going to get dry conditions. He played in Australia and absolutely pissed down. He then played in Cape Town in the worst possible weather ever. And now he's finally going to get that opportunity to play in wet or in dry conditions over at Loftus. So I think that he's going to really, really... even Kid Cynical saying they're finally Morning gets a game not in the rain. I mean, jeepers, he couldn't have asked for worse conditions in his first two starts. for the Boks. But going to some other comments over here. Who was it? I can't find it. Here we go. Damon was saying, I'm sorry, but prefer Fussy to Damon. Damon has not had a good game in a while now. Well, he hasn't played for the Boks since 2023. He has been getting back to fitness for the Stormers. I wouldn't say he hasn't had a good game. He had a couple of very good games. But yeah, that's the thing. We don't know what he's going to be like in that box shirt. Ricky says, we are the only team in the world who can play a different 15 each week and constantly win. Springbok fan, who is a member, by the way, thank you for becoming a member. I think he's actually one of our new members, if I'm not mistaken. Saying, I want Sasha to at least be on the bench. Rugby Creel says, I'm so happy Jesse is captain. Well, I think we've got a little Jesse Creel stand. And 100%, by the way. 100%. I think that's, for me, is actually the best part about this whole team announcement was Jesse Creel being kept as captain. Because I think he's somebody who works so hard, always, and he's willing to do whatever. You know, when he got dropped down and Kanye was playing well, he didn't care. You know, he was happy to just keep playing, keep being the bench role and keep preparing them and being ready. And then when he got his chance, he took it and reminded everybody just how good he is. He is the nicest guy ever. I've met him a few times. He comes up to you, he chats to you. He's always friendly. He's always in a good mood. He is such a good character as Jesse Creel. I've got so much time for him. And the fact that he's played 79 caps, I would love for him to get to 100 caps. There are few people who I think will deserve it more than him when he gets there. Because he's been such a good servant for a long time. He came when he was 20 years old, by the way. Started at the World Cup in 2015. Was part of that sort of situation. Had to go through, you know, some of that bad Bok teams and the bad performances. And now we're seeing the absolute best of him. And yeah, I think it's so good to see him getting that recognition as well. Callum says, Horn in this lineup would do wonders, needs a proper head out to see his true potential. And I think 20 feels 60 said, I'd have Tank to Toy instead of Bongi with Vessels as hooker. I love Leroux, but time for Fussy or hooker to be on the bench. I'm not convinced by Van Staden. I want Peter Steph to Toy, Arnikel and Chatuka combo. Yeah, I think if he was fit, I think we might actually have seen that combo. I think we would have seen. And this is, I think, so frustrating thing when you see, you know, when injuries come in, because we had such a good opportunity to have gone with Cameron Hanekom at 6, with Sia Khaleesi having been out for 2 games, but then Cameron Hanekom's injured. And I think that it's going to be a big opportunity for Marco van Staden to try and sort himself out, because if he doesn't have a couple of good games, then he might struggle to keep that position if other people start to put their hands up. What other comments have we got? Alud says, talking about the transformation. Yeah, but the thing is, I think we've got to look at far more longer look at it from a transformation point of view, because there are injuries and there are players who are going to come in. So, I mean, in terms of, if you want to look at transformation, look at who's coming through. Asanat and Klabakanye, for example, I think will be within this 23 very, very quickly. Grant Williams, currently injured, will be back here. Sasha will play many games here. Mine Liba will be back. The Kanye Ams, currently injured. Makazoloma Pimpi, currently in the squad, will get opportunities. Adel van der Merwe is still around there. You know, we've got lots of players who are coming through, but there are injuries. Are also, I think, a reality. So it's a long-term future thing. If you look at the broader part of the squad, it ticks all the boxes you need to tick. So I don't think we need to worry about that too much. It's also about combinations and the likes of that. So Tyreek over here was saying, for me, I personally prefer Fussy just because of how consistent he is under the high ball, but I really can't say I'm upset. Damien is at 15 because he's an absolute monster on the pitch. I agree. To be honest, I agree. I think that Damien Willems, I believe Fussy's done a lot of work. And what's very interesting, by the way, is that the team for next week has already been announced internally. So Rassie Erasmus has already told people who's playing next week. So we're going to expect a very different team next week, which is quite interesting. So all of a sudden, I think we're going to see an Andre Esterhuizen potentially starting next week. Maybe Peter Steph the Toy back in it. The fact that they've already announced it, obviously it might change with regards to injuries, but we're just hearing now that internally that team has been announced. What it's going to look like, I'm not sure. I don't know if we're going to continue with being very strong or if there is rotation, because we've obviously got a Georgia test after that. So we've got a lot to sort of weigh up. But basically, after 338 votes, most people saying yes, they are happy with the team, which means I want to ask a question, and that is, Who would you pick as number 1 fullback? Very, very simple question. I'm going to put in Rassie, Erasmus, and Horn and LaRue. Let's focus on those people. Let's focus on that conversation and see what we're thinking with regards to that. I just want to check 5 seconds if this is. Yeah. So that's the poll I've got, and an interesting early, pretty expected, to be honest, where we're at with regards to the poll. But I tell you what, I think there could be some Quan Horn fans very soon if we can get him some game time. Donovan Cross, though, saying people are underrating Willie LaRue so much. He's probably one of the best in the world in creating try-scoring opportunities. You're not wrong. He is the assist king. He's got one of the highest rates of try assists in World Rugby in the last 10 years. I think it's him and Bowden Barrett who are sort of the top. So he is. That is what he brings to the team. And that's why he's often on the bench, because if things are going badly and we need to find ways of scoring tries, he is an incredibly important part of exactly that. So that's why he often reminds. Tim Milani says, I voted for LaRue. Don't care what people say. My man's backing his horse. He doesn't care. He's sitting there saying, you guys can tune LaRue all you want. I will back my horse. S1 reckons he's going to fight him. So there we go. Maybe do a bit of a charity match. We get the Willie LaRue fans in. We get the Damien Willemse fans in. We get the Upper Fassi fans in. We get the Quan Horn fans in. And we just do like a rumble in the jungle. And just do a complete box up. And whoever's standing at the end will pick that full back. Sounds good to me. We can have a bit of fun with it. Francois says, I like Masters a lot, but not as a Lucy. Would not mind having Rus or Dupre as utility forward cover. Well, I think he'll come in as lock, to be honest. I get what you're saying, but I do think that he's covering more lock. I think he's fine, actually, on the flank, to be honest. I mean, look at how good he was in the British and Irish Lions series. So MC Vidizzle, the Great, says Horn needs game time, but he will be there. He is a brilliant player. And Jacques says, considering the quality of wings we have, LaRue seems to be the best in unleashing them. If it weren't for them, I would have said it's tight between Fassi, Willemse. And Tariq has become a member. So thank you very much, Tariq. Welcome to the Forever Fan, the Forever Sports Members Club. As a Forever Fan, a whole bunch of cool little perks there that he's just picked up himself there by becoming that. So good on you, mate. And if anybody would like to do it, then click the link in the description. We really need our members. They help us get to Gqeberha next week, and to Imombela, and to Cape Town, and to make sure we've got all the Springbok content for you guys, like the training that's going to come tomorrow, the team photo on Friday, all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, it does cost money to get there. So really big appreciate it. Our members who really make those things possible. Alf says, can't pick just one. I have a fussy bias, but Damon was phenomenal during the last World Cup. Really incredible playmaker at the back. Horn, I still want to see in a strong team. You summed it up. You're summing it, and you're damn right. We've got so much to talk about, so many things to check. How do we do that? How do we pick just one, and which of those are it going to be? But nice position to be in. This is the thing. CP Nunes says, cannot wait to see Ranger Julius and Henke van Wyk on centers one day. And yeah, I'll tell you what, that's coming. That's coming soon. So it's an interesting poll at the moment. 163 votes so far. Willemse in the lead. Fassi, not far behind him either. So keep voting, and let's see who everyone's going to back by the end of that poll. It should be quite interesting to see, what everybody thinks. And what I'm going to do right now is I actually want to go through almost every sort of part. But what I actually want to talk about mostly here is our loose forwards and how we potentially might see those sort of start to change. And because I think that that's for me is a big, interesting part is the fact that we've got a lot of different loose forwards coming through. So that's what I want to talk about, people. So let me know your thoughts on the loose trio. In terms of our loose trio, we've got Peter Steph Toy currently injured. We've got Sia Khaleesi currently injured. We've got Cameron Hanekom currently injured. We've got somebody else is injured as well. Albert Lowe is currently injured. Those four are sort of the big names currently not involved in the loose trio. I think that's about it. I mean, Jean-Luc Dupre, maybe he had a few concussion symptoms, but he wasn't named in part of the injuries. And yesterday, Don Human said he was okay to go. So, Marco van Staden is apparently a core member, according to Rassie Erasmus. And that's kind of obviously, but I think that he's someone who's spot in the squad. What the box seem to think that it's very nailed down. I think that number 6 jersey is still very much up for grabs. And I think that Marco van Staden's got a unique opportunity to have had 2 games in a row, which he probably wouldn't have if Sia Khaleesi was fit, to get some game time and to sort of prove himself. But I do think he needs to start putting in some performances. We've never really seen him do what he's done the Bulls at the box. We've never seen a man of the match performance, for example, from a Marco van Staden. So that's obviously going to be a big part of him this weekend, trying to prove that he's a proper option, because I think we've got players. They're reckoning a Renzo Duplessis. I think somebody like a JC Pretorius is coming through very nicely. I think that we're seeing Cameron Hanekom could potentially do that role as well. So there's lots to look at with regards to our loose forwards and how we kind of sort of balance that, because at the moment we've got to find succession plans for players who might not make it. Sia Khaleesi at this stage is going to be managed to try and make the next World Cup. Peter Steph is going to be managed to try and make the next World Cup. So that's your 6 and 7. But what happens if they don't? And now Marco van Staden right now is your next choice, number 6. But who are the other options? You know, and number 7, you've got Peter Steph who's right up here. Now, who's after that? Vincent Tuka's not getting his chance. But Ben Jason Dixon has tried and hasn't really managed to nail that down. Albert Lowe's had some nice cameos. Probably been one of the better ones. But Franklin Moss had to fill in there as well. But I don't think anyone's really sort of grabbed that number 7 jersey and been able to really make it their own. And I think until we start seeing that, we're going to have to continue looking at other options. Because my biggest problem is that Peter Steph, for example, World Player of the Year, we know that if he's fit, he'd start ahead of anybody else on the planet. But if he's not fit, then we've got issues. And we've got to make sure that we've got options so that if he isn't fit, that we can cope without him. And that's where I think Vincent Tuka's got a unique opportunity right now to be that option. He probably would have played last year had he been eligible, but we've not been able to, well, Home Affairs hasn't been able to sort that out in time for him to be able to get a good enough game time. So now he gets the opportunity. He needs to make it count. Last week Saturday, he was making it count. And I think that he's got all the attributes to be able to succeed. But we've got to find out where we can make it work. So, yeah, I'm going to sort of wrap it up pretty much there, people. We're going for almost half an hour, and we're going to go sort out the press conference for you guys so you guys can hear what Rassie Erasmus has to say about everything. But let me know what you think about the team in the comments if you are watching this retrospectively. We did do a poll about, which has got 260 votes so far. And of that, Willemsen's got 45% of the votes. So, right, there we go. You got the date wrong. Which date wrong? There is no date. I don't know. A bit confused about that one. Anyway, we're playing on Saturday is the main chance. People, we will have the press conference from Rassie Erasmus up very quickly. And we will have some more videos about sort of diving into the squad. We're also going to have the fan forum, by the way, return on Thursday evening, which will be live. A live opportunity for you guys to jump in. So please do support that. We're going to do a lot of effort into it. Potentially a bit of a Bryce stream going. which should be quite a lot of fun, a bit of a fire in the background and the likes of that. So, yeah, make sure you come and join us then on Thursday evening. We will potentially be live tomorrow as well for a new show to kind of dissect the squad in a bit more detail. But please do smash the like if you are new. Make sure you subscribe. And big shout out to Tariq, who became a member of the Forever Sports Members Club. If you would like to join that membership, the link is in the description. We really, really need as many members as possible to try and up our coverage and give you guys the best opportunity of seeing the box. So, yeah, thanks for liking the video.